Hey guys, Clint here. Today I'm going to be working on the rear axle of the car. We have the bushings to get put in. I have the add-on sway bar. I have the brake lines already somewhat mounted on. They may have to come off later, I'm not sure. We may get as far as putting on the wheel bearing stub axles and possibly hanging the axle up today. So let's jump right into it and see what we can get taken care of. All right guys, here I'm just going to go over briefly everything that I've got for the rear axle. Some things that I have may not actually be right over here, but they are around. I've got the rear axle here. We've got the brake lines on both sides already. We've got the stub axles and wheel hubs with the end caps and the axle nuts. I've got a couple of different types of bushings. The one in the box is a kit. The ones in the bags are just the bushings. There's the bolts, and I believe these are just the bushings. I have the actual tool to press it in, and then we have the Ibach add a sway bar for the rear. And that should be pretty fun to do, so let's see what we can get into with that. Here I've got the bushing set. This one is Spiden. I'm not really sure how to say that. I'll hope this focuses. But this kit comes with the two bushings, the two bolts, and the two nuts to mount this all in to the rear axle. I have the rear axle bushing installation tool for the A4. I got this from idparts.com. I should be able to put a picture up right about now of where I got that and how much it is going for currently. And I do know that these two pieces here, this big nut, and then this one that's on a bearing, those are 15/16. So you're going to need two of those. I have one ratcheting, one non-ratcheting. So hopefully we can get this in pretty easily and don't have too much of an issue. Before I get into it really quick, these bushings do have a little marker indicator right in here, a little dimple right here, and you need to line that up on the axle itself. There's a little marking down here. I should have a picture that I can put up right now from the Bentley manual that shows what I'm talking about a little bit better than I can right now. But you do need to make sure that you have that in there aligned to that marking, which is what we're going to do right now. Hey guys, as you can see, I have this set up right here. I didn't film myself trying to put it together because I didn't want to look too stupid on camera. But the thicker piece goes over the exterior side, or the outside of the axle, with just the solid nut. The longer threads are going to go through the bushing. You're going to have the shorter piece here, and then you're going to have the nut that's on a bearing so that you can rotate it to get this pushed in. So let's see if we can do that, and maybe we'll actually get somewhere we'd like to be. Okay guys, I went and I grabbed a 24mm because this one actually has a working ratchet end, and it's just a little bit big, but it should do just fine for what we're trying to do here. Alright guys, I'm not going to go crazy tight here. I just wanted to do that one in real time so you could see how long it'll roughly take. I'm going to go ahead and back off a couple of nuts here, and we should be able to just go on to the next one. As you can see, I got the bushing in. It's in there pretty tight. I didn't go too crazy. The only problem I ran into was, and it's going to be a little bit hard to see here, I got the marking, the nub is right about here, and I kind of wanted it down more this way. So we'll see if we can get the other one that way. I don't really want to just push this thing out to push it back in. I don't think that would be good for it, but we'll see if we can get it right on the next one. As you can see, I got the passenger side bushing in. It's not bad. I got it mostly where I wanted to go. There's that little marking. Come on. There we go. It's pretty close. It's not perfect. It'll do fine for me. It's not a race car. I guess now we should look into trying to hang it up on the car. And I got this mount in, that mount in. They've been in for a little while. I just got to make sure that they're aligned properly. So we'll get right into it. I couldn't really film myself putting the axle in. I needed to have my dad help me, but you can see we got the bolt through with the bushing. Those are looking pretty decent. You got to be careful when you're hanging the axle and just letting it hang, because it will kind of angle the bushings a little funny, and it could possibly hurt them. But we ran the new shocks up. Those are mounted at the top there. And just so you can see, I got both sides, so this thing is hanging under its own weight now. We don't have everything super tight. We are going to be going through everything again. And we just want to make sure that we can get the springs in. We got to get the sway bar on. Obviously, that's not on. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to get back into it. We're going to get the rest of this rear suspension done, hopefully. I should be able to get everything put together. The springs will go in. The sway bar can go on. We can start putting the stub axles and the wheel bearings on. And hopefully we can get the brakes on, but it's not a big priority right now. I still have to run the hard lines, and I should do the e-brakes, parking brakes beforehand. So there is still a few things to run there, but we're getting closer. The rear end's almost done. We'll get back into it tomorrow, so I'll catch you guys then.
Many months later.
Yeah, if you can't tell, it's not the next day. I guess we'll just spend a little while catching up here. I just took a break from the car for a little while because I got married and sorted some things out with the VA and just stuff that I had to do. I just wanted to take some time off from the car. Just a little less stress for me, but we're right back at it. I got a bunch of stuff in recently, and I've got even more stuff coming still. The plans have changed. We'll go over the change, and there's a lot. There's a lot coming, so stay tuned. All right, guys, we'll get into all the tools and stuff that I got recently, and there's some parts. I know there's not a lot here right now, but trust me, there's more on the way, so we'll talk about those as well, obviously. We'll start over here on the left. I just got a riv nut tool. This one is an Astro 1442. I'm pretty sure I got this on Amazon, and it wasn't super cheap, but I'm pretty sure I can put a picture up right here and show you what I paid for it, where I got it from. These are just some random stainless steel riv nuts that I picked up because the standard ones I believe are zinc that come with the Astro, but hopefully that's clear enough for you guys. These are kind of like a big mix. As you can see, 230 pieces, stainless. These ones are made in China. It doesn't really matter to me. They're riv nuts. M6. There's metric. There's imperial. We got a little mix of everything. These are the little zinc. I'm sure you probably can't tell too well, but little zinc looking ones. I just don't really, I'd rather run stainless. These guys right here, these are our little hose grommets, hose clamps, whatever you want to call them, hose tie down clamps. I got these online, I think Amazon. Unfortunately, I didn't consider the outside diameter of my fuel hose when buying those, so I got the same size as the inside diameter of the fuel hose, so I'm going to need to buy some more. That's fine. We can save those for something else. Maybe I'll have to run smaller fuel line. Who knows? I'm not sure yet. But either way, I have some of those. So I'm going to get some more that actually fit and will be a little cleaner, hopefully. These guys right here, this is a 420 piece kit of self tappers, all varying sizes. It's going to be loud for a sec. As you can see, varying sizes. There's the hex heads, there's Phillips heads, there's just a whole bunch. They're anywhere from, I'd say, 1/2 inch long to maybe 3 inches long, 2.5 inches long, somewhere in that range. I kind of got these because my original plan, I'm sad to say, was put a self tapper through the hose clamp in order to tie that down, and thankfully, as you can tell, I reconsidered that. So these guys are just going to be for emergencies. We're just going to hang on to them in case. I'm not going to be putting any self tappers on my car now, I promise. I have a riv nut tool. We have stainless riv nuts. I can get stainless hardware at the hardware store. We'll do it this way, I promise. And then the only thing over here, these are just no AC accessory belts, serpentine belts from Continental, straight from Germany. I believe these were Euro tuning. Let me double check real quick. Yes, Euro tuning, which is URO tuning. And that wasn't too bad price-wise. But as you can tell, these are much shorter. Hopefully you can see that there's none, like it's not bundled up under this label. That is the whole belt. It looks like it's maybe 2.5 to 3 feet long total length. But that is part of the plan. We are not running AC now, so we'll talk about that. Yeah, like I said, we're pulling the AC out of this thing. Don't ask me why. I kind of just made the choice after spending months of my life cleaning the underside of this thing and flex sealing it and trying to make it as nice as I can for a budget. I don't want to drive it in the wintertime, especially here in New York State, because they salt the shit out of the roads and it's going to destroy this car again. And I just want to save it and keep it for a while. I'd like to keep it for a long time if I could. So it's going to be a summer car. And I know that sounds stupid with no AC, but it's very seldom up here do we really get above 90 degrees for a consistent lengthy period to where I would really need AC for something like that. And, I don't have to drive somewhere every day. I don't have to do something every day. So I may not need to drive when it's not great out and you would want AC. But I also am keeping, functional windows. It has a sunroof. I was considering looking into a way to vent my rear side windows by the rear glass on the doors. I don't know if it's possible. They're stationary windows, so I figured there may be a way if I look into it. We'll see. That's down the road. We don't need to worry about that right now. We got a lot still left on our plate. But like I said, we're getting rid of the AC. I already have all the AC components out of it for the front end disassembly part. I know that the Mark IVs, they have a problem with, I believe, their heater cores. Feel free to correct me on that. I believe it's the heater core that's behind the dashboard. I'll have to double check on that with you, but if somebody knows the correct answer, feel free to spout it out before I do. I've heard of them kind of quitting, and they like to dump the coolant all over the floor. So we're going to pull that out, and I know it sounds dumb. A little bit of weight savings, but also we can just do a bypass for that coolant spot, and it'll just keep the coolant running through the block, which is a good thing. We're changing the plan up with the engine as well, more than likely. Right next to me here, we'll talk about that next, is going to be the reason that we're changing things up a little bit, a lot of bit, completely, not totally, but still on the engine side, yes. So I hope you're ready for it. Here's the culprit. This is our 6-speed manual from Europe that I got from coreworks.com. That's KORWERKS. But I'm not going to be putting a link in the description because, unfortunately, for the community, the TDI community, Chris, the owner, is going to be shutting down. He has his own ventures that he needs to handle and things that he wants to do, and I don't blame him. Business is crazy. Unfortunately for the community, that means that we're going to need to find different methods of all-wheel drive swapping, whether it be importing a car, buying an R model and doing something with it, whatever it is. But yeah, like I said, I won't put a link in the description. I don't want him to get harassed by anybody. He's trying to do his own thing now, and he's done with selling parts, so that's why I ended up going with this. I really would have loved to save up and get a all-wheel drive swap. I had the money for it. Unfortunately, he kind of stopped bringing them in about 6 months ago, as of this video, was what he told me. And I just wasn't in the know on that because I kind of, shut down my social media for a bit. So I was unaware of that change. I happened to go on his website and I saw something about these transmissions and low quantity, and I didn't see the all-wheel drive swap on there. And I know he was a busy man, but I tried to reach out to him and see if he still had one, and maybe it just wasn't on the site or something. Unfortunately, I didn't hear from him, and when I checked, I just recently opened up a simple Facebook account, just to catch up with old friends and use Marketplace. When I looked on there, I checked his site's Facebook page, sorry, and it said something about roughly along the lines of, these are the last transmissions, what I have is what I have, I won't be purchasing more, etc., etc. Something along those lines of, he was just getting rid of what he had. So I kind of had to pull the trigger, jump the gun, whatever you want to call it. We had to buy this. I was in need of a transmission replacement or, performance upgrade because, like I've said before, unfortunately, this car has the dreaded 01M automatic transmission, the 4-speed auto that everyone who knows anything about a Mark IV Golf or Jetta knows that the 01M is dog water. They're terrible. They're not good at all. And like I said, it would have been great to get an all-wheel drive swap. He did have the all-wheel drive 02M transmission there, but I just didn't feel like buying solely a transmission when I needed to do an entire swap. Obviously, now I can just buy one of those transmissions because I have all the parts to do it in this box. Which I'm going to pull that box out and we'll put those parts on the table and we'll check those out so you guys can see everything that he included for me. But I will say that I'll give a big shout out to Chris because he's a good dude. He texted me, I want to say last Wednesday. He texted me in the morning and he said, hey, where you live, where this is getting delivered isn't too far from where my shop is. You could always make the drive out. It would save him, I don't know, a couple $100 probably for shipping because it's considered freight. And it would have to be offloaded with a forklift or something when it gets here. So, of course, we have a tractor that could handle it, but he had also asked if I had all of the parts to go from an automatic to a manual swap, which I didn't because he had it on his site, but it was marked as sold out. And when he had asked me about that, I said what I just told you guys. No, I don't have those parts. On your site, it was marked as sold out. I didn't want to bug you about it. etc. I just figured I would have to scrounge. I took a screenshot of what I'd need and just kind of said, F it, we'll figure it out. And he kind of insinuated that if I went to pick it up myself, he would load it for us and he would throw in the parts to go from an automatic swap to a manual swap. So that's why I say right here, we have all of the parts that we need, or at least should have all the parts we need. And I also just think that it's hilarious that an O1M is like the worst thing ever, but the O2M is like great, amazing, awesome, spectacular. I don't know how else to describe it. But either way, let's get into the box of parts that it came with. Obviously, the transmission's over here. There's not much else in the loose box, the big box. But I'll grab everything and I'll throw it on the table and I'll show you guys what we got in there. Okay, guys, I do just want to preface this by saying that I don't actually know what all of these parts are called. I don't know the proper names for all of them. I will learn them. I will make sure that I have it down. I do have the book, so the book should help. But if I call something what it's not, don't hate on me too much. But real simple, to me at least. We've got over here shifter mechanism with the cables and linkages. I'm pretty sure that I have the clips and everything I need for the ends over here. I know that says, the writing right there says ERF2. I don't think that that's going to matter. I will text him and ask him just to make sure, because my code is I believe it's FMH or FHM. One of those two. I think it's FMH is the gear code for my transmission. But like I said, I don't think that it matters because it is a 6-speed shifter. So I'm pretty sure that it's fine. But I will double check. Clutch assembly, pedal assembly. Not really too much there. I got a few things I got to hook up on the backside, like hydraulic line and all that stuff. That'll get taken care of when I get to the actual interior and setting everything up for the engine to get put in. Small little bolt kit. I'm assuming a lot of this is going to be for the shifter housing, possibly the starter, and possibly mounting the transmission to the engine, because the CV axle bolts are in the big, or the little box. I didn't grab everything that was in the box. I didn't grab the mounts. There's two different, or there's a different transmission mount, obviously. That is still in the box, and the CV axles are still in the box, along with the transmission, obviously. But we should have all the bolts we need. If not, I mean, it's a Volkswagen. The bolts are pretty much interchangeable with every part almost. So, number 53 relay. I believe this one is the reverse sensor, and this one's for the clutch. I can't quite remember. White one could be reverse sensor, blue one could be for the clutch. I'm not totally sure. I believe the big line here, I'm pretty sure that's power steering. Again, not 100% on that one. Got a manual starter. I am going to get a new one. I'm just hanging on to this for the part number. I'm not entirely sure what this part is here, but obviously I need it, so that's what matters. And then this hydraulic line, I believe, is for the clutch itself. So like I said, not everything from the kit is shown here. I do still have like the heavy mechanical parts in there. In the box, I got the clutch, flywheel, bunch of the bolts. There's a plate. Looks like there may be a brake pedal in there, so I could have lucked out. He may have ended up having a brake pedal in there and not noticing it. But there's a few things in here that I don't have on the table, obviously. So just trust me when I say that we should have everything in that box to do our swap to the O2M 6-speed. Well, obviously, before we get into the new parts, we have to discuss this transmission, because that's the big reason why there's so much change coming. The big thing with this transmission is obviously the 01M that I had in this thing stock is a 4-speed automatic. Usually people don't want them unless it's just a pure go to work car, run it till it blows up kind of thing. Nobody wants to dump the money into them. They can't really handle much power. They're not great. My original plan, if you guys remember, I'm sure some people have seen my Discord. Not everybody has. The link is in the description, though, if you want to check it out. You're more than welcome. My original plan was to take my 01M to a place in New Jersey to have it worked on. It was basically going to be better torque converter, just a little bit of work done to it, a different valve body. What else was there? A different oil cooler, like an external one, because the factory setup is not good. Just subtle changes, simple things, but important things for it that would get worked on. And the only issue for me was that the shop that did it, because it's technically considered specialty work, I guess. They were charging about $4,500 US, obviously, which for an 01M, everybody that knows about that transmission just went, oh God, why would you do that? Oh my God. Well, we're not doing that. That was the original plan, unfortunately, but that was only because I wanted to do an all-wheel drive swap, but I didn't want to cut the trunk out. So I ended up, like I said, going to CoreWorks. I got the 6-speed manual, the 02M. And the reason that I said this is what changes everything now for the engine side of things is now we can make much more power than originally intended, because this transmission, being from Europe, is built for the stronger engines, because over here in the US market, the ALH was choked down to, essentially, if you will, 90 horsepower. I do know that there was I think it's an SDI Golf over in Europe. That one was naturally aspirated. I think that's the only one that made less horsepower than this one, the American ALH. I think that made 60, maybe. But they just choked it way down for our market. And the whole thing is that from the factory, their cars could get upwards of 150 horsepower, like right off the factory floor. And it was the same car, just different components on the engine. That's all. So obviously they changed the transmissions and stuff up for our market as well, because of reduced power. So they didn't need a big sturdy transmission like that behind it. And with the gearing, I'll put the gearing up right about here for a second, let you check that out. You can pause it, look at it. I will have that posted in my Discord, by the way, if you want to look at it more in depth. But the whole thing is that this thing now goes to a potential top speed of 170 miles an hour plus, based off of that gearing chart. Is it true? I don't know. We'll have to see in a controlled environment, obviously. I don't think that I would like to take a Volkswagen Golf quite to 170 miles an hour just yet. So again, that's why I say this thing changes everything, but not quite. Just same mentality, different plan. A roll cage is going in. That's going to be first and foremost. It's going to be a complete weld-in cage, no bolt-in components. I considered the bolt-in components for a back half cage where it would go from the trunk to basically behind the front seats almost. I considered it because that would have bolt-in parts to go to the front, but then I just kind of thought about it and I was like, those are weak points. And it's also just a pain in the ass to have to do that all the time. Like, I know it's a pain in the ass to have to get around a roll cage all the time anyway, but I'd rather have the sturdiness, safety, peace of mind kind of thing with the full weld in. So there will be a full weld in cage going in, just because of the potential of this transmission. I don't want to take any risks. We're not doing any kind of stuff on the street. This is going to be obviously a street car, but we're not going to be doing any kind of racing on the streets. If we're racing, we're going to a track, because something like that with those kinds of speeds, that is very dangerous. Anything over 100 miles an hour, you should be full roll cage, I would definitely think. Obviously, a lot of cars and trucks nowadays can go 110, 130. Hellcats can go 200. Those guys aren't going to survive any kind of crash at all. And I'm not saying that a roll cage would save you at 200 miles an hour either, but you would have a lot better odds, I can tell you that. So it's just purely a safety thing, covering our bases. And then, of course, we're going to be doing engine modifications, more than likely head work, bigger valves, ported head, um, probably a large cam, or like big cam, race cam, whatever you want to call it. Excuse me. I want to go to like a T3, T4 manifold style exhaust manifold. Right now, the turbo has the exhaust manifold is part of the housing for the turbo. My problem with that is if you get a cracked manifold, it's basically a cracked turbo, so you need a whole new turbo when I could just get a manifold and run like Garrett turbos, for example. Probably get slightly larger injectors, full exhaust and everything. I got the race intake already. I know that the stock, intake box and like accordion style intake tubing, or at least the box, can handle up to a couple hundred, maybe even 300 horsepower. So there's not a good chance I'm going to change too much. Anything I don't have to change, like the air box, obviously I'll run a better filter, but if I can get away with not changing it and still making good power, then I'm just going to leave it so that it kind of looks more stock. I want to get like the engine cover and everything anyway, so it just kind of helps. But yeah, engine power, this transmission, I know I asked Chris from CoreWorks, he said this thing will take more power than the TDI will ever make. I'm not really making any new suspension changes that I'm aware of just yet. We might try to do big brakes. I'm not sure. I got to look into the kits, see what's available out there. Other than that, I mentioned the seats already. I think that I've covered pretty much everything. I'm not really willing to spend the money on carbon fiber just yet. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to work on anything today, but I will be back at it in a couple of days. I'm still waiting on some parts to come in anyway, so that can be my excuse for right now. But we will be getting back into it. It's getting colder out, so there's more of an excuse to be inside working on the car. But yeah, thanks for stopping in, checking out. I'm checking back in with me. I'll be getting back into it shortly, and hopefully we'll have this thing ready. Not gonna promise anything, but I'm saying hopefully we'll get this thing ready by springtime. We'll see what happens. But thanks again, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.